Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the second series, and more importantly, the 1v1 to decide who gets pick priority over pick and side. Of course, it is MLP Dota and johnxfire. John, welcome back. We're in for another 1v1, sir. It is going to be Faith Beyond versus Somnus, and it's going to be a Void Spirit, apparently, versus a Mirana.
Yeah, this one should be a bit more even, I want to say, overall. Like, the Mirana does have the range advantage in this case. Void Spirit is a natural mid, though, so that's something you can play around. Of course, I'm fairly certain Faith Beyond is comfy with a hero. Like, I'm sure he has played it a couple of times. Is kind of flex pick into that off lane in rare cases. You can kind of play it like that, so shouldn't be as well, one-sided in terms of hero matchup as game one, series one. So this one should be a bit more even, and we do see Somnus actually starting out with 2 wards. So he's going to be planting those down, of course, giving himself vision advantage. It is pretty important to get that done on a Mirana. Gonna be
Faith?
interesting to see whether or not he goes for the early arrow.
Faith, don't do it. Don't do it, Faith. He's getting close. Those are 2 observer wards, Faith. Don't do it! He's a madman. He'll do it. No, he picks them up. Okay. I mean, the thing is, you're not really going to buy sentries in this matchup. So, like, he doesn't feel the necessity to... Faith? Faith, be careful. Be careful with those, Faith. They're important in this 1v1 matchup, sir. I love the confidence from this man. Takes him back. What I was going to say is it doesn't really matter if you place them late and Somnus does see where you place them, because you're not going to buy sentries. Like, you're not going to have a chance to de-ward. I suppose you could buy sentries in a way, because you do get a bit of bonus XP and gold, but it's not like they're going to go to the effort of really rotating around and missing creeps to actually get those wards.
Yeah, nah. I think it's more of for Somnus to be aware of where the vision is, so he'll know where not to camp for the arrow if he's going to go for that kind of play. Just gives him a little bit more practical information as to where to set up.
Oh, very nice block coming out from Somnus. Just perfect. Right on the stairs. The exact spot you want them to be in. And he does go for the level 1 Starfall, so... Of course, you're not really going to bother for the arrow. Like, you'd rather secure CS and get some early items up if you are Somnus. In fact, I dare say... you could actually go through this 1v1 without actually having arrow if you really wanted to. I'm sure he'll go 1 level in it, but could opt not to if you felt confident enough on that Mirana.
I think it's much cleaner when you opt to not get the arrow. Like, you don't really have any solid creeps to go for except for the range creep anyway. And just having more levels in Leap does give you a lot more utility and pumping out raw right-click damage, so that is something Somnus could play with.
Nice thing about this matchup as well for Faith Beyond, or rather not for Faith Beyond, Somnus. He doesn't really care too much about the Resonant Pulse because he has this huge nuke that doesn't care for that physical damage block at all. No. Of course, if you get both procs on Faith Beyond, it's just so much damage. At max level, you're doing, I believe, about 500 damage with Starstorm if you get both falling on top of Faith. In fact, it's more than 500. So... essentially something more valuable than a Laguna to the face on top of Faith Beyond, who isn't playing a very tanky kind of core.
Yeah, it's something that Somnus can take advantage of, although I have to mention Faith Beyond is really working this last hits right now. 10-2 compared to Somnus's 9-0. Much better start for Faith Beyond than you'd expect.
Yeah. He does have a very high base damage on that Void Spirit. So Somnus does struggle a little bit for now. He does get level 1 arrow, so Somnus does feel comfortable having that available. And can always go for the leap into the arrow, into the Starstorm. Pretty standard combo for the Mirana. Faith's got to be careful. He doesn't have any real regen available. He's just got that ring of regen. So at least Somnus, he has a Fairy Fire and Tango up on the Mirana still, just in case things get a bit spicy. And he will bring another salve up, brings the wand out, brings a mango out. Faith Beyond does not care for regen. He doesn't need it.
He's got tangos and a stick coming out, so he's gonna have a little bit of regen. Nothing like Somnus though. Somnus definitely having just a lot more leeway in how long he can hold this lane. And as long as he applies that harassment onto Fate Beyond consistently, at some point the guy is just gonna have to burn through his tangos real quick.
Starstorm, really starting to hurt Faith. And in fact, he might die right now. Arrow connects. He does get dissimilate off and tries to get the A through him, and it does connect!
Oh no!
Oh, Faith! And the buyback immediately. Somnus is not happy. Oh, and that's GG. What a play from Faith Beyond!
Oh man. Just,
wow,
just
wow.
a really good. Just a really good placement for that Remnant. Punishing that aggressive move forward. Somnus not playing cautiously enough and gets punished. That will give EHOME a bit of a, well, at least they get to pick what they want for game one.
Well, up against a team like LGD, arguably the strongest team in the whole league, you definitely are going to want to have every advantage you can get if you are EHOME. And we'll be getting into that first draft pretty darn soon. Shouldn't be too much longer. We'll jump into the lobby as soon as it's available, of course. It's MLP Dota and johnxfire. We'll see you soon once that first game draft is available. So EHOME's kind of playing this for the later stage of the game. They're going to play the farming game, the more passive game up against the side of LGD. I don't know if they'll have the time with this Morphling. Like, you've got Morphling DK into Bristleback Ember.
10 seconds remaining.
A natural Spirit Vessel carrier in the Ember as well, John. Like,
5 seconds remaining.
You've got two heroes that are very susceptible to being burst down thanks to a Spirit Vessel. It concerns me quite a lot for EHOME.
They're really going to have to try to win out in the lanes. We've seen what happens when a Bristleback doesn't hit its timing. So that's something for EHOME to really be cautious about and try to force out. The issue is, when you give a Bristleback a Keeper of the Light combination, it's very hard to shut down the Bristle. You know, he has just way too much sustain, way too much presence with a chakra around from that Keeper of the Light to really apply himself. So he's still going to find his farm. EHOME's going to have to look really hard for a way to break that up. That's going to be the key thing for them. If the laning phase does go awry and LGD does get everything they want from Bristle, there's probably not going to be enough space here from LGD. I think they're going to be able to find the answers in the fights. I don't think they're going to have amazing push, which EHOME does have now. The DK and the Beastmaster will give them a lot of early push potential coming out. So that's one way they can balance out that early power spike from LGD. I like the Beastmaster pick here a lot in terms of that. Of course, you've got the double roar that could come out as well with a Grimstroke, as long as you get that soul bind off. So there's a lot of utility from that hero now as well.
Yeah, we saw this Faith Beyond Beastmaster yesterday up against Vici Gaming, and it wasn't looking great for EHOME in one of their games, but Faith Beyond the Beastmaster, just, you know how Faith Beyond does it. He just sets up everything for the team, makes that space, allowing his cores to farm up, and just pushes down towers very, very quick with this hero. We'll see if he can replicate this performance up against LGD. But it does give great confidence seeing that Beastmaster come out, definitely. LGD certainly need a way to... It's kind of like, do you want to just settle for trying to go for that early push, but you're kind of screwed over late game? Do you want to keep up, or do you want to change the draft up a little bit? I think you're kind of stuck into this early game style pushing lineup of PSG LGD, and I understand they don't have the greatest push, but they need to snowball, they need to have that momentum throughout this game, and this last pick, I like it. The Monkey King comes out, and they're going to go all in on aggression.
Yeah, it definitely lines up quite nicely. I think you have a lot of potential once you have level 6 on your Monkey and your Ember and the Keeper of the Light. That's going to be important. The levels for X Nova has to come out fairly quickly. You want that Will-O-Wisp up and running as soon as possible to maximize your control in these fights. That's really all they have for control. Like, you have the stun from Somnus, you have the chains from the Ember Spirit, but to keep them in a place for a very long time, that big team fight control you need in a wide AoE, it's only really X Nova's Keeper of the Light with the Will-O-Wisp. So they will have to somehow give him a decent timing into the 6. I'd say you don't want it to be waiting out past 12 to 13 minutes. So if he's behind probably prioritize him for the first book. Otherwise, LGD has some very strict timings here. They can't afford to really taper off too hard. EHOME has a lot of burst potential that can really eat through that Monkey King, and even the Ember Spirit is kind of susceptible to the stuns that EHOME has. So they really have to hit their stride here early on. Should be, again, very straightforward when you do have that Keeper for Light Bristleback. They're going to have to really ensure that combination works out well for them.
And time will tell whether it does. We should be going into the game very soon, and here we go. What's the beautiful X-Nova on the majestic Keeper of the Light. Seeing Q on this Skyrath. This is one person I really want to watch out for in this game. It's really a little difficult to understand what to expect from this man on this kind of hero. Of course, we do know in terms of laning stage, he's going to be very, very frustrating, just forcing out arcane bolts constantly. Even that concussive shot can deal quite a bit of damage, as well as the slow. And you know, EHOME, if they did want to, John, they do have a very, very strong lineup for an aggressive tri-lane right now. Like, you've got 3 slows, essentially. Nobody's moving if Stroke of Fate, Concussive Shot, and the Boars are hitting you. They might even try for a first blood now. Though none of the LGD are going to move forward onto this side of EHOME. They're just going to allow them to take the bottom bounty runes. LGD will comfortably go ahead and take the top ones. Should be a fairly even start. No need to rush anything if you are either side.
Yeah, neither side's really looking for that early aggressive start, I think, for the bounty rune specifically. With a Bristleback, you'd want to expend that in the lane, and I think this matchup is probably one of the better ones to mitigate the impact of a Bristleback. They do toss Sylar up top on the Dragonite, so he has a lot more durability to last through those early levels of the Quills, so it's going to be much harder for LGD to shove that top lane out.
They are going to rotate Y up on the Grimstroke, so you're going to have him there to really ensure Sylar remains safe throughout this laning stage. Not going to be the safest matchup for the Grimstroke either, but you got to just take what you get. Of course, FY is going to be there on the Shadow Demon to make sure Old 11 does remain safe on the Bristle. Y, Stroke of Fate through 2 of them. I suppose if you were going to expend a lot of mana with those Cruel Sprays, you may as well do it now, while Sylar doesn't really have any points in Dragon Blood up. Won't have that armor to worry about. FY, quick disruption, just to ensure he gets the creep pull off, and Old 11 will remind him not to go too far as the Grimstroke, as he is looking to punish with Cruel Spray. And are you getting lag, John? I'm getting a bit of lag in this game.
No, it's looking fine from Southeast Asia.
Okay, it's just me. That's great.
You know how that line is sometimes.
Yeah. I'll reconnect if it keeps up, or if it gets any worse. Australia to China, not always the most stable connection.
I have to say, I am a bit surprised they didn't go for the Keeper for Light with the Bristleback. Sure, level 1 Keepers tend to go for that Blinding Light, just to dissuade any harassment. I suppose this does work out better for Chalice. He is getting a lot more from his lane this way, as you can't really harass out the Ember when you can't hit him. So it is paying off there, but you are losing out in the potency of Old 11's Bristle. Like, Sylar is very comfy up top.
Yeah. Faith's getting very low, and he's getting denied out quite a bit as Concussive Shot comes in, but look at the damage that Faith has to take. And Sleight of Fist is just continuously going to be on a very low cooldown at this rate. Meanwhile, we should have a look at the mid lane, where Nothing to Say is forced to be up against Somnus on the Monkey King. And Jingu, of course, is quite easy to proc on the Morphling, especially considering he doesn't have Waveform yet. And Somnus is starting to overtake the lane quite a bit. 14 and 5 on the Monkey. comparison to the 8 and 2 of the Morphling.
I don't think they really expect this lane to work out for EHOME. I think they've just kind of accepted that they did have to shift it out. He's probably not going to have any better of a time against a Bristleback, so this is the best they can do. Salvage that top lane and hope that Nothing to Say can at least find a little bit of farm against this Monkey King. I have to say LGD has definitely set themselves up quite well with how they've run these lanes.
Disruption coming out of FY. Sylar getting blocked up a bit. FY, 3 Shadow Poison stacks. Should be able to find a 4th, and the 5th would basically guarantee the kill, though no, they will find it. FY does get first blood on the Shadow Demon, and that will be Sylar going down. Bot lane, there may be
really
another aggressive move. In fact, never mind, Blinding Light did knock Syncue away.
You've got a really early Soul Ring up on Old 11 now, so he basically has no mana issues, right? He's going to be able to spam out the Cold Spray as much as he wants. You don't really have the options there yet from EHOME to kind of spam out their own Breed Fires much on the Dragonite just yet, so that's going to be a massive opening for LGD to kind of take over this lane, and that's exactly what they need. They need to really get their Bristle up and running super quick. They've set themselves up to get that done in a fairly good manner for themselves.
Somnus just getting every Jingu Mastery he can ask for, and Nothing to Say getting very low. Somnus not able to finish off the job, but you're not going to mind this. Like, Nothing to Say is just getting nothing out of this mid lane, and well, currently Somnus is about to double the last hits of the Morphling. And, I mean, in terms of XP, Somnus going to be a full level ahead for now. Nothing to Say, all he can really do is just try and soak XP and claim those CS through his Adaptive Strike, but that really isn't the most efficient way you could ask for. Now just forced to Adaptive Strike again to avoid another Jingu Mastery proc.
This is really going to be a slow start for Nothing to Say. I'm not sure what they expect his timings to be like. Like, Somnus is really just going to shut him out of here. He can kind of play in the jungle, but he's nowhere near a Morbid Mask just yet. So sustaining in that jungle is going to be a bit tricky.
Nothing to Say, they're going to make the jump now. FY has rotated on the Shadow Demon, and he's got no waveform available still, so all he can do is Strength Morph still. Shadow Poison's being stacked up. FY just standing around for some reason, but he gets 4 stacks. That's going to be enough, and he claims another kill as Y will run in with the Ink Swab, but doesn't really connect. Does get the Stroke of Fate with the concussive shot, but can they get in range for the Arcane Bolt? Syncue still trying for it. I don't believe 1 will be enough. No, definitely not. FY will be perfectly fine. That's going to be a 2-0 for LGD for now. They're just looking great. Every lane has been won by LGD at this point. Like, EHOME are finding nothing.
Yeah, they've really worked their lane matchups quite well. Even with the shift out from EHOME, it's not quite enough to mitigate that disadvantage. Like, yeah, Nothing to Say on the Morphling is doing better than he would against a Bristleback, but it's not much better. It's still pretty dismal here for EHOME. They're going to have to try to buy some time for this Morphling to really play catch-up, and we have seen what happens when your timings are off as the Morph. As long as LGD maintains that aggression and maintains some vision in that jungle, the space is going to be very hard to find there.
FY, another rotation here onto Syncue. Doesn't quite get the disruption range. Now, another thing as well in this bot lane, like, you look over to that Ember, and with this constant Sleight of Fist spam that's coming out, he's finding so many of these boars from Faith Beyond. You know, those boars, they give a lot of XP and a fair bit of gold. So, Chalice just going to find more and more farm as time goes on, and even though Faith Beyond's basically been solo in this lane for a while now, he's still only on level with Chalice. Like, they are really just on par with each other. Which goes to show Chalice has been finding quite a few of those boars.
I mean, he's actually prioritizing the boars over getting harassment damage onto Fate Beyond. Like, he doesn't care about Fate Beyond staying in lane. He wants to eat his creeps. In fact, I think he wants Fate Beyond in lane so he can find additional farm.
That's free gold. Why not? Just keep him here. In fact, they'll go now. Blinding Light knockback on Faith Beyond, but Remnants are up from Chalice. Faith, he is about to hit that level 6 mark, so he could get Raw soon, but he needs a creep to die, and he finally does get it. He may have to commit, though. No. Remnants away from Chalice, and now the Boundless strikes Somnus with a great rotation. Sylar, he may be a sitting duck, but there's no mana left on Chalice. But they found the kill they wanted. I think you're going to be happy with that if you are LGD.
Definitely. They got the hero to really back off. It looked like he could have turned with Roar. Unfortunately, the Ember Spirit is a bit slippery, and Somnus was right in time before anything could be done. So again, LGD just setting the pace of the game, really dictating the engagements, finding all the kills they want all over the map, and they are just finding a lot more in this laning phase. Like EHOME, they're 2k behind already at 8.5 minutes in. They've got a lot of ground to still cover. They have switched lanes. Sylar is going to be playing in that bot lane now as a DK. It just feels like this response is a bit late at this point. Like Fate Beyond's gonna be up top, but up against a Bristleback, I think he's gonna enjoy those boars as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They get more stacks up. Old 11 has got so many stacks to take in this jungle, and he's going to take all of them right now. This is going to be a lot of gold for Old 11. In fact, he had about 60 gold before he started, and we'll see how much he ends up with. We can't forget in that recent patch, the neutral creeps gold bounties got buffed, though. Nice stroke of fate from Y. They're going to try and contest. Be huge if they can take quite a few creeps off. And it looks like they did get a fair few of them. I believe they may have gotten a big creep or two off Old 11 there, so great little rotation there from EHOME. Faith is going to stick around. He doesn't want to allow this. So he knows how big Old 11's going to get if he is allowed to do this. And well, can they stop it? Not really. FY is going to be there to protect. And meanwhile, while you're trying to contest that, Y is going down to the bot lane as Chalice. He's going to move in, claims an easy kill, and now Sylar, I mean, he's just standing there as the DK saying, what can I do? I can't do anything. I'm a Dragon Knight.
Yeah, this is rough for EHOME mainly because they've got level 6 on Sylar, but they can't pressure a tower. They can't have him play a much more active role in forcing out a lane, getting an objective for the team, because he has to buy space for the other heroes on EHOME. So he's buying space for Nothing to Say. He's buying space for Fate Beyond. And that means he's just staying in a lane that he can't possibly find objectives in.
Well, they do still have a very nice late game kind of lineup. But, you know, another one of those problems is, you know, we talked about the balls going down for Faith Beyond. Look at Old 11. He's taking down the balls again, though. Raw now does come out with the Will-O-Wisp coming out from X-Nova to try and protect an Old 11. Looks to turn a Somnus. A great rotation on the Monkey King. And Faith Beyond's going to be caught out here. And what I was trying to say is, not only do you have balls to take off the Beastmaster now, but he has a Helm of the Dominator. So Old 11 found that Dominated creep, gets an added 200 gold on top of all the balls he's been finding. And now they find a hero kill and a tier 1 tower up top lane.
They're just really clearing out the map right now. 5k advantage for LGD. You see EHOME trying to push out that bot lane. Sylar is getting some chip damage onto this tier 1. It doesn't feel fast enough. He doesn't have anyone really backing him up. He has Y, but you'd want the Beastmaster Fate Beyond to contribute some damage with his creeps as well. Not quite ready, as he did expend Aurora, so his presence is just kind of asking for trouble instead.
Oh, Sylar barely misses out on the Dragon Tail on the Ember. That may have set up a great kill for Sylar had he connected, but just great jukes coming out from Chalice. Speaking of Chalice, he's very close to that Spirit Vessel now. That's when this DK and Morphling really aren't as tanky as you would hope. Speaking of that Morphling, Nothing to Say. Gonna get some goose stacks on him by Old 11. They will not have the potential to lock him down, so they'll just leave him be. But LGD are seemingly looking to try and set up for this tier 1 mid tower.
Yeah, I mean, why not? There's no response from EHOME. They do smoke up in Fate Beyond and Sin Q. Maybe they find a pick off? Oh,
Raw, gonna be there. They did end up finding Somnus, and now they break down the tree. Somnus has no way out of it. And that is the strength of having the vision from these Hawks that Faith Beyond can throw out. Sin-Q, of course, has plenty of magic damage follow-up. That's a big deal, but you are still having this problem where Old 11 is just freely pushing that mid-tier 1 in, and Nothing to Say still really can't do anything to stop it.
there's just nothing to threaten this Bristleback at this point. They've given him the good
Sylar.
start he's looking for, Sylar.
He's coming in, pops a Soul Ring, gets the Dragon Tail off, but his back has been turned. Will-O-Wisp now will be very nice from X-Nova, catching 4 heroes in FY with the disruption, looking to turn. Somnus comes in with a great Boundless Strike. They do essentially take it on Nothing to Say. Soulbind will come out as well with a double silence, but doesn't matter. You've got Chalice there now, and Sylar, he just melts. Old 11, he may need to back a little bit, but you found the Morphling. Nothing to Say, gets his tree chop down, and FY finds a double kill on the Shadow Demon.
Radiant's top tower has
Just so much going wrong there for EHOME. I think morphing into the Monkey King and jumping up in the trees right in vision. Just asking for trouble there from EHOME and gets punished hard. They're not done.
Chalice. Yeah, he finds the chains. He knows how aggressive they can be, and he picks up another nice kill. You know, with that mid-tier 1 and top-tier 1 going down, that opens up the jungle for LGD. EHOME, their map gets a lot smaller. When you've got these kind of heroes that really want to farm up the jungle and the lanes, this becomes a very dangerous predicament for EHOME.
It really does. You've got a lot of heroes, as you mentioned, focusing on that jungle. Fate Beyond's already in there. Nothing to Say will have to maybe slip in. He is set for it. He does have his Morbid Mass. But that's a lot of jungle space that has to be shared by 2 really farm-heavy heroes. Like Fate Beyond, still saving up for his Vlads. That's a bit a ways off. And Nothing to Say, of course, just working towards that shotgun, the E-Blade. And he is way off. You've got to get time for these heroes. I think Fate Beyond should be online a bit faster, but Nothing to Say really needs the space right now and can't afford to share too much of it away.
That's my waters rise.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I like the build-up as well from Old 11. He's working straight into a Lotus Orb. In fact, fight.
Yeah, they're going to get started, and they found why.
Radiant's
Old 11. Goose flying out. There's going to be a TP. Does he have the damage though? Sin-Q? Ooh, barely gets out. Quills were almost there in time. Meanwhile, mid lane, Will-O-Wisp was committed. Looks like it was onto Nothing to Say, but he does manage to waveform out of there in time. So instead, they'll chase Faith Beyond. No, in fact, never mind Faith Beyond. They want the balls. And they got one.
They're getting a lot of gold from all of those creep kills bleeding out, and that's one of the things with a Beastmaster. If you're not careful, if the enemy team is set up, you can be a bit of a gold drain. That is just pouring into the enemy team, and LGD is very much maximizing that. Going back to my previous point though, the early Lotus Orb for Old 11, that's going to allow them to basically cancel out that great silence they have. It's going to give a lot more leeway for Chalice to dip in and out.
Old 11. Mystic Flare flying out as well, but he is so tanky with that Hood of Defiance. And now Inkswell will at least connect with a double Soulbind and double Silence. It's going to be enough. No. Chalice will just break away. Remnants forward. Who does he want to go for? He gets Sin-Q with the chains. He needs help though. Old 11 does start running in, but it looks like they won't really have enough lockdown quite yet.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
But they do prove a very hard point for EHOME that no matter how much you throw at this Bristleback right now, he's not dying. And while that's been happening, Somnus looks to push the bot tier 1, and he does find it. So that's all tier 1s now going down for EHOME.
Yeah, they've got all the control on the map. They can basically just play in these and any single jungle area, which means EHOME is going to be very cautious with how they rotate. Nothing to Say. For the most part, he's doing fine. They've got decent coverage, and of course they've got the Hawks to play with, but the map is shrinking here for EHOME. The net worth advantage heavily on LGD side, 9k, 17 minutes in. A really big lead for LGD as they set up on this mid-tier 2.
Gonna take it very easily. Like, there's just... Oh, they're gonna back off for a bit. So they did spawn out Faith and Sin-Q in the jungle, so Old 11 doesn't want to allow any kind of farming to go on for EHOME. So continue to apply that pressure. They especially want to try and avoid that Ethereal Blade being completed on the Morphling.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And LGD, what's the game plan here? They smoked up. Sylar has a Shadow Blade, so he'll be okay. I don't think they'll spot him out. Yeah, he'll just TP out. He'll be right.
Just a bit of a time bot there for EHOME. Gets a little bit more space to farm up. And that they will. Like, they're slowly building up. You already have the Ghost Scepter up on Nothing to Say. Has about 1,400 gold left for the Eagle Song, so he's actually not too far behind. Should be able to hit it at relatively decent timing considering his laning status. And that might catch LGD by surprise. They haven't really hunted down that morph in the past few minutes.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Somnus gonna start setting up for that top tier 2 tower. EHOME looks like they're just gonna ignore it. Like, they understand they can't defend. They are trying to set up for a bottom tier 2 tower push. They aren't gonna be anywhere near as close. In fact, they aren't even gonna get started by the sounds of it as they glyph up the tier 2. Now LGD have this weird decision to make. Do we want to go for a tier 3 push? Or do we want to defend that bottom tier 2? Because they have time. They are going to go back down bot. Disruption is there onto Sylar. FY is the only one, but now the TPs do start coming in, and Sylar, he gets caught by the chains. No TP for you, Mr. DK. And Chalice, can he find somebody else? He has remnants, he just needs vision. Pings come out onto Sin-Q. Sin-Q going towards the east side, and I believe Chalice does not spot him out. But bounty runes are up. He'll just stick around for those instead. And now they do see Sin-Q. He is around. They give the go-ahead. Chalice, it's time to go. No remnants available for Chalice. And now with the Roar, with the Ancient Seal and Mystic Flare, it's a lot of damage. But they got the Disruption and Will-O-Wisp off in time. And now it looks like Chalice is willing to try and turn this one around. And poor old Faith Beyond is going to go down, as well as the Skywrath Mage. In fact, never mind. The Skywrath did manage to get out. But they got Faith.
That's the big one. They managed to force out the ult usage as well. Now, it's not too long of a cooldown for Faith, but they're not able to find the kills even if they get their combo off. It is a bit of a worrying sign. And you didn't even have the Bristleback around there. So you didn't have that Lotus Orb in play. This is going to allow LGD to walk into the Roche pit. And it's not the fastest Roche, but it should go steady enough. EHOME, they're going to have to really be aware of this when they are smoked up. You should check that pit.
But do you really want to fight right now into LGD? It just seems way too
Got
difficult. Is that enough? They're going to go in.
Probably not.
If they can get the Aegis to be massive, but now Wukong's command comes out on a double bound strike, and they got the Aegis up on Somnus. Sin-Q gets bursted immediately. Now the Ethereal Blade does do a lot of damage to Somnus. Can he run away? It doesn't really matter anyway. He's got the Aegis. And they don't even get that. Somnus going to be perfectly fine thanks to FY. In fact, just back to farming for him.
They tried to burst down Somnus. I believe that was the target for Nothing to Say shotgun. Not enough damage. Just the level advantage that the Monkey King did have there was enough. He was level 15. I believe the damage being pumped out by Nothing to Say at that point. He was at level 13, so slightly less stats and slightly more for the Monkey King to pad himself out was enough to keep him on the edge, making that E-Blade reveal less than ideal. They didn't really find targets. They lost their supports. Not the best deal in the world. EHOME's going to have to be a bit more cautious now as well. They've kind of revealed their trump card, and this will allow LGD to smoke up.
They will try. Oh, nothing to say. He knows he's being chased down right now by Somnus. Somnus Looking a little bit like Thompson as he jumps through the tree line, but he gets silenced up. Now Chalice comes in. A great Will-O-Wisp from X-Nova, forcing Y back into it, and nothing to say. All he can do is strength morph, but there is no help coming. FY cancels the TP of Y as well. And it's 2 more kills for the side of LGD. EHOME, they're still trying their absolute best. They at least find the courier of Old 11, so Assange will be denied from the Bristleback. That was the Heaven's Halberd completion, but I don't think he's really going to mind too much. He's doesn't really seem like he needs it right now anyway.
Is under attack.
It would have been nice to win out these fights much easier, but not necessary. As you mentioned, they're already fairly ahead here for LGD. The damage is just not flying out from EHOME fast enough. They haven't been able to take any fights as 5 as well. The past few fights have been a scattered set of skirmishes for EHOME, whereas LGD have been sticking fairly consistently as 5. They bring all their heroes down, they catch EHOME split up into groups of 3 or 2, and clean up from there. The EHOME needs to try to play around. Nothing to say now that he has the damage out. It's just they're opting instead to split up their forces, split the farm up, and split their efficiency on the map. You see Fate Beyond, he's pushing that tier 2 up top. It's just not fast enough.
They'll get nothing. 2 GG branches being placed. In fact, multiple being placed. Is that why? Gonna get gooed up. He does have a haste rune though. He should be fine. The bot lane, Sylar, gonna BKB TP out of there. He will be okay, but I can't say the same for Faith Beyond, who has been caught out again by Somnus. He commits Roar. It will be to no good. That was a double Roar, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't have anything to follow up with.
Oh man. And why? Sticking around.
He is. That'll mean an easy primal for Somnus. Ghost Scepter going to be there from Y to slow it up down a little bit. They avoid the Inkswell. Boundless Strike will be there. And Old 11. Oh, GG Branch is nice, but it's I believe that was actually the Grimstrokes. Yeah, it was. Just trying to block vision, but it doesn't mean anything.
No. It's a good attempt. In the end, LGD still running away with the game, right? This isn't nowhere near close. It's 17-1, 25 minutes in, 11k advantage for LGD. Now, because LGD has so many kills under their belt, there is a lot of potential if you actually do find 1 or 2 of these big heroes. So you want to try to get a kill onto Old 11, but it's just such a tick target now.
Sylar getting jumped. He thought he could get an easy kill onto X-Nova.
Oh, no.
That will not be the case, and that was BKB and Shadowblade committed underneath the Sentry Ward. That will bring his BKB down to 8 seconds, and well, it's been 2 defensive uses of the BKB so far, which is really not the way the DK wants to have to use it. LGD getting closer and closer now to being able to go up that high ground. Poor old Y has no way to get away from Old 11. He does Ghost Scepter at least, but Lotus Orb comes out. Nothing really affecting this Bristleback. They get silences off, but he just doesn't care.
Yeah, he's doing this push by himself for the most part. He found that kill by himself inside base. So they forced the Fortify. That should stave off parts of the push, but Aegis expires as well.
I don't know about that Fortify. Was it really necessary? Like, you're gonna lose this mid-racks anyway, right?
Probably not. Definitely not, because again, they just don't have a way of getting into these fights. You can't burst Old 11 down. You need to reach the backline. You have no way of jumping that backline as well. Oh. Okay.
That's all you can do. Like, hope that he connects with another person, the Soulbind, and you know, maybe be able to capitalize with a double Roar. But look at Old 11 again. Just moving forward, Chalice, he does find the chains. Old 11 gonna go back. Faith, he'd love to get a Raw target, but none of the targets he can actually kill are really showing up. He does have a 10-second BKB charge now on the Beastmaster, so he does have some form of defense. But Wukong's is out and nothing to say. Waveform's away just in the nick of time, but chains. are there from Chalice, and he looks to blow up this Morphling during that Ghost form. Somnus sticks around, Raw comes out, but it's all too late. They need to back off to the Fountain. Silas going to try and man-fight with his BKB, but Somnus does not mind a BKB at all. They buy back on nothing to say at least, and it looks like maybe they fight Old Levin, though no. He survives through all the damage they throw at him. And there's the GG. They've had enough. In LGD, they pull off a very, very easy and dominant victory for themselves. 22-1 in terms of kill score.
Yeah, just really clean execution coming out from LGD. A really solid, straightforward draft. You know, there were no surprises in this draft. Like, you saw the Keeper of the Light, Bristleback wasn't banned out, they pick it up. They had the Ember Spirit, they close out with the Monkey King. I don't think EHOME had the answer in their draft. Like, they were feeling confident with that Skyrat Mage to do all the work for them. It wasn't enough. It's just not stable control up against what LGD had. Their timings were off because they went for these slightly slower heroes that don't really win out too much in lane. They don't lose out too, but definitely not like lane dominators. And they just gave way too much space to LGD.
I'm just having a look at the scoreboard, and you know, PSG.LGD might be turning their heads around to Somnus for giving that 1 kill away. A perfect game was avoided here for EHOME, and Somnus, can I have some eyes on him? What happened? Why did you give that kill away, Somnus? Still, we do have a second game incoming. We'll see if EHOME can potentially force this to a game 3 up against LGD. But man, oh man, they're going to have to change up some drafting here for sure in that second game. It is MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll see you guys again very, very soon for that second draft.